Yo, what it do, St. Louis? It is 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. So y'all know what that means. It's time for the St. Louis Hustle podcast, where we're talking about forgiveness today. Is it fair to forgive but never forget? That's what we're talking about right here on the St. Louis Hustle podcast. Do us a favor. As you're coming into the room, go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand for that free business shout out. And man, we just gonna dive right on in. Let's get to it.
Growing up in St. Louis has never been easy, and most say if you want to succeed here, that you must leave and put down roots somewhere else because of the strong crabs in a barrel mentality here.
I don't know if I'm just an optimistic person, but to see people like Chuck Berry and Nelly make it in the music industry, or the Roberts brothers and Dave Stewart in business, or William Lacey Clay Jr. in politics, can we blame the city, or is it that people just aren't hungry enough?
We're talking to all of the movers and shakers in this town, from entertainers to politicians, social activists and organizers, and of course, entrepreneurs.
Is there a curse on this city that holds people back? Is there an unseen hand that decides who makes it and who doesn't? You're about to find out.
Welcome to St. Louis Hustle.
Welcome back to the St. Louis Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. That is my girl, Michelle Aaye. And we are coming live and direct from the Monetize My Life Digital Product Boot Camp. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have been trying to figure out how to take your intellectual capital, the gifts, the talents, the skills, the knowledge, the experience that you have, turn it into a digital product that you could sell online, then I got you. I got you. I'm going to show you how to create digital or how to get paid off of your information or knowledge in 7 different ways. All you got to do is click on the link in the description and register for the class. It's $47, guys, but you're going to leave that $47 class with a product or a service that you're going to be able to sell over and over and over again online. So check us out there. Today's show, we're talking about forgiveness, man. Is it fair to forgive and never forget? Or should you let bygones be bygones? So that's what we're getting into today. Comment the name of your business or your brand and smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen. And it's about to go down. Shelley, how was your weekend, sis?
So, I had the best weekend ever. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay, so y'all, I don't know if I told y'all or not, but I kind of got a friend, right? And I'm gonna call him Mr. Wonderful for right now.
Okay.
Mr. Wonderful planned a really awesome weekend, and it was full of prizes and surprises and just lots of thoughtfulness. I always get amiss when people plan things for me or they take the time to schedule out. So he scheduled out this really romantic dinner and then took me back to my roots. We went to a comedy show with the Funny Bone. And those of you that know me like you know me, that is where I very first hit the stage performing stand-up comedy more than 16 years ago. And so it was surreal to be back, because I really hadn't been back since I did the Funny Bone for a few months, or probably about 4 months, and then I launched it to my own show, and just from there, different adventures, I'll say. So it was really cool to kind of get back, and it was super nice. I had flowers and dinner and all kinds of stuff. So
nice.
We gonna see how long Mr. Wonderful stay Mr. Wonderful. If I show up one day, I'll be like, You say, how's Mr. Wonderful? I be he Mr. Pitiful.
Wonderful in turn to Mr. What the?
Right. Really. We'll see. But right now, he's Mr. Wonderful. So my weekend was amazing. It was great. Yep.
I love, man. And I know y'all ain't there yet, but that whole romance and getting even down that path. And you know what I have with my sugar. I wish everybody had that, man, because it's an amazing thing, man. It's an amazing thing, man. I always say that when you always know if somebody is happily ever after, because when you talk to them about how long they've been together, man, it's been 25 long years. I'm like, oh crap.
Right, they say long, like long, 10 long years.
No, man, it's been 20 25 years for us or something, 20 years married, 4 years together. So yeah, man, we didn't do a whole lot on Valentine's Day. Her birthday is the 12th. So yeah, 12th. Then her mama's birthday is the 13th. And then we got Valentine's Day. So we hung out a little bit. You know how she spent her birthday, Michelle?
What you do?
She spent her birthday on the phone with AT&T, arguing and fussing with them for about 4 hours.
Oh boy, happy birthday, sugar. From AT&T. Wow.
Yeah. So but yeah, we are my youngest son has not officially moved out, but he hangs out with his girlfriend a lot.
Oh, okay.
My middle son did officially move out, so we 95% empty nesters over here, Michelle. So it was like, man, had to put our dog down, so the dog is gone, the kids are gone, and it's like empty around here. It's like pin drop quiet most of the time.
Oh wow! I'd be like, it's really just me and you, sugar. What do we do all the time? Somebody had to sneak and get your happiness on. I'd be like, we could just walk around and be happy.
Right now, no, this is where you're gonna figure out if you really like each other. Yeah, ain't no kids, ain't no dog, ain't no distractions.
No distractions.
Like, hey, me and you. What we gonna talk about?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I might have to come to y'all for some advice when I want to, because I know my way of handling stuff when I get perturbed. Be like, excuse me. He seen me do this. He seen me do this when I'm trying to figure something out. He ain't had this
early to be doing that, Michelle. You got to keep your representative in place now.
I mean, it's so subconscious. He's seen the twisted head when I'm trying to figure it out, but he ain't seen this. When he get this, watch out. It's on. So let's jump into those COVID numbers. First of all, it's cold outside. Bird. Okay, that's it. That's the way. I wish I could do the weather every day. What's the temperature, Michelle? Cold as hell. There it is. You're welcome, St. Louis. Cold. COVID numbers, man, excitement. St. Louis, or not St. Louis, Missouri, we're at 509,000, right? Last week we was at 504,000. Considering where we were week to week jumping in excess of 20,000 plus, we only went up a few thousand. Yeah. Look at God. And Illinois, I'm so proud of y'all. I'm so proud. They're at 1.16 million. Last week they was at 1.15 million. They only went up just a little bit, just a little bit. So the vaccines, people getting the vaccinations must be working. I'll say this: I saw in the news people were really getting upset because they were closing the vaccination stations. I rhymed. I'm a poet, didn't even know it. They were closing the vaccination stations yesterday because of the weather. People was on TV mad. Let me tell you something. Sit down somewhere. Who finna be out there in the cold giving people shots, trying to risk their life because you need to get your fill? Sit down somewhere. You gonna get your second dose. Man on TV was ready. He was big mad, as my kids would say.
And he big mad because he procrastinated.
There it is.
You should have been there last week getting your doggone shot.
When the weather was right. There it is. Dude told you to wait till the middle of a snowstorm in the middle of a pandemic to get your shot.
Right.
The look. Okay. So that's that. So guys, just keep wearing your masks. Keep doing what we're doing. I think it is working. They've opened up restaurants and everything at 50% again. The weather is kind of affecting that, but let's continue to support these local restaurants and local businesses by doing what we can, which is just, when you feel comfortable, put your mask on and let's show up for them and show them how St. Louis does what we does. So the A word of the day. We just rolling this morning. I am a little drinky drink. I'm on fire. This girl is on fire.
Word of the day.
I'm gonna get me a look. I got to get a little jingle or something. I'm gonna just have to reach out.
You are in the jingle game, man. And you can put us a 10 to 15 second word of the day, graphic video representation. And we'd love to show you some love and introduce Michelle's word of the day. So jump in the inbox, people, if you got those kinds of skills.
Man, can you do it for me, please? St. Louis? This is my last thing. All the producers that I know personally in St. Louis, as well as all the ones that be out there pushing beats and stuff on Facebook and putting up rant, all the stuff that come across my timeline. Come on, somebody can't do me a little something. Just give me a little something.
All in the inbox.
I got right.
Like,
all in terms of check out this beat.
Check this out, big homie. First of all, I don't know you. When did I become your big homie? I don't know you.
Right. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, that get it together, people. So the A word of the day, I'm so excited, is unapologetic. Oh, I said it. Unapologetic.
Not only is she rolling with the A word of the day, she's gonna drop a multi-syllable word of the day on us. Get them, shit.
I think it's the sleeves. It's the sleeves today. It's my puppy sleeves.
It's the puffy shoulders. I get
right. Maybe them shoes used to pump your shoes up. I just sleeves. And I just think I get it.
Yes.
They make shirts now. That's where I get it from. So when I was researching this word, and I try to let God, thank you, Lord, deposit these words into my spirit. And this word hit me like, hey, shut up. So when the word hit me, I first started thinking of researching, what does it mean to apologize? You know, when people say, I'm sorry, Cortez, I'm sorry. When you express regret or empathy about something that you've done or said, you want to take it back. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have did that. Right. But as I kind of have been journeying, I've been on this journey to self for quite some time now. And I've discovered this word unapologetic, right? And I've heard it before, but it really has started to resonate in my life because I'm done being sorry. Okay. Yeah. I unfortunately was one of those people who would always, someone would say something and the first thing out of my mouth was, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't do that anymore, especially when it comes to who I am. Right. So in this journey, becoming unapologetic in regards to yourself and who you are, you got to first find out who you are. Right. You got to take that journey. If you don't really know who you are, you don't really know where your purpose is. You can't really find out the why behind the what for being unapologetic. So I had to do the work. Okay. This is just my journey. I recommend it, but it may not be your way, but it was my way for sure. Right. I had to get to know who God was in my life. I had to get to know who he was, right, in order to find out who he made me to be. And some people may think it's a little trite or trivial or something. Again, people don't want to do the work. I did the work and am still doing the work. And the more I found out about the attributes of God, the more I got in tune with how he made me and why he made me and all that I should be doing. You always say, Cortez, you know, we live, so to speak, under an open heaven. There are things that God wants us to have, and they're right there. It's us. It ain't him. It's us that limits his power, not him. Yeah. So we have to reach up and take hold of those things. And in part of taking hold of who I am as a person, I had to really tap in. And so now that I am deeper in that road to discovering who Michelle Aaye really, really is, I ain't sorry no more. I'm not sorry that I can bust out talking about Jesus at any moment. I'm not sorry about that. Can you see me real good? Sorry, not sorry. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Living in that has brought about for me a new freedom, right? A new freedom of expression. It's not that I don't care, but I have no regrets about who I am. Point blank. Yeah. I'm okay with who I am. Matter of fact, I kind of love me a lot. All this wonderfulness, all of this.
That's right.
God gave me that, and he gave you that too, for real. He gave that to you too. So I want to encourage you guys today to find out, get to the core of who you are so that you too can live a life that's unapologetic. You know what I'm saying? Open up the doors of freedom and walk through them. It's available to you. Wow. A word of the day.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Unapologetic, people. Be who you are. Stand on that. I'm going to stand on mine, Michelle. This is who I am. I'm going to stand on it.
That is.
My man William says, hey, I am a music producer.
What?
I will do a little something for you for the word of the day. Certified like Coach Melissa Wilson is in the building as well. William also says, man, love exists in language. All you need to know about a young relationship can be discovered in language. Man, I love that.
Come on, Will.
that. William giving it to us this
Come
morning.
on, music producer. Well,
so
all right.
Speaking of being unapologetic, we are talking about forgiveness today.
Woo,
right?
Lord.
And
Yes.
I know you did some research and some homework. Did the same thing happen to you today, last night? And as you were doing the research on this topic, that always happens. Did you find yourself all up and through it, Michelle?
I don't be trying, and sometimes I have to have this talk with the Lord, because me and the Lord, we get with it. You know what I'm saying? You have to have that relationship with God, where you be like, hey, look at her. Please, sir. Kind sir. I don't really plan on being the point center of the message this week. So can you please leave me out of it? Can you just please let me just deliver this thing to the people? Can you do that, please? And the Lord be like, bow, you've been served. So yeah, I found myself like, why, Lord? So yeah, forgiveness. I have discovered some stuff, Cortez. It's been looming, been underneath the surface.
That's right. Well, before we get into that, let me give the people the question of the day.
That is, give to them.
When you answer the question of the day, you get entered into a drawing to win a free vacation. I do the drawing live every Wednesday, noon Central, on this very platform, right? So you guys can tune in live if you're available. Somebody's going to get a free vacation, and we only ask that you take Michelle with you. So no, you get the free vacation when you answer the question of the day. The only way we know that you're answering the question of the day is that you put QOTD. That's how our team pulls your name and we give you the answer. So I was listening to some Les Brown this morning, and actually the question of the day is 3 questions. It's 3 questions. Where you coming from? Right? What are you doing now? Well, what are you doing here? And where are you going? Question of the day. Where you coming from? What you doing here? And where you going? Answer those 3 questions for us today, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win a free vacation. And Michelle and I will give our answers towards the end of the show. Where you coming from?
What?
What you doing here?
What you doing? Who let you in?
Where you going?
Where are you going?
Powerful introspective questions when you really get deep with those. So let's talk forgiveness, Michelle. What's going on, man? What did you learn?
Man, oh man. So forgiveness, it's so deep, and there's so much to unpack here. I know we got a couple of some of our listeners on that probably have a great experience with this, but so definitely chime in. I invite you guys to weigh in on the subject of forgiveness. But I looked at the definition, right? What does Webster's Dictionary, how do they define forgiveness? And they define it as a conscious and deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person or group that has harmed you, right? But you know me, Cortez, my question is, what does the Bible say about forgiveness, right? And I'm going to go with a scripture from Ephesians 4:32. Be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ forgave you. Boom, right? If you want it, you got to extend it, Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to walk a very thin line. For people who are, what do you call that? Atheists or agnostic. It's really reaping and sowing. What's the way the world says reaping and sowing? Come around, go around, or karma. If you want it, you gotta give it. So if you want someone else, I say the Lord, but if you want someone else to forgive you, you have to learn how to have a forgiving heart. And I thought that I had a forgiving heart all this time. I was like, I forgive folks. But in reality, I have discovered that forgiveness is a lot easier said than done. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, do you have any unresolved issues in your life, Cortez, that maybe under the surface you think you've forgiven, but you really haven't? Through this study or this research, I kind of found that I got some things lying dormant. Sorry, Lord. I got some things lying dormant that I think I've discovered forgiveness is not a one and done. It ain't I forgive you, bye, just because you said it. Most of us as Christians, we know it's the right thing to do, and you have to do it even when you don't feel like it. But it's more than just lip service. It's a continual every day. You got to wake up every day and continue to forgive. So what say you?
Absolutely. Not anymore, Michelle, in terms of
Okay.
unresolved things, because just as we have to forgive the way that Christ has forgiven us, we also have to understand the power in grace and mercy. Right? And we want that from the Lord, but we don't extend that to our neighbors. Right? And I'm going to throw another word out there that helps me to not have to put myself in position to forgive, and that's expectation. See, sometimes we get hurt solely because we are placing expectations on other people.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to get to the place where you don't place expectations on people, but that's where grace and mercy comes in, right? When I learned the real definition of grace and mercy, it changed my life, right?
Yeah.
What is mercy? Mercy is not getting what you do deserve.
Yeah, that right there. That part right there, sir.
And then what is grace? Grace is getting what you don't deserve. When
you better
I
say that.
learned that changed my life. So when it comes to forgiving, if I do unintentionally place expectations on someone and they let me down, then I might have to give them what they don't deserve in my forgiveness. Right?
Right.
Well, I might not have to not give them a slap upside the head, which they do deserve. Merciful. But if I can temper my expectations on people to begin with, then you kind of don't put yourself in those positions. But know that people are human. They are people, man.
Yeah.
And while there's a lot of maliciousness in the world, there's far greater people who will hurt you unintentionally than there are people who will actually intentionally hurt you. So extend some mercy, extend some grace, and temper your expectations, and that'll help you going down the road. But did I have to clean my slate before I got to this place? There was a lot of stuff that was trapped on the inside of me that I did have to deal with. For instance, I didn't know that my past history of being molested, and which led to mental issues and the whole 9 yards, and how I came up. Well, my mom and her escape plan to get out of a domestic violence relationship sent me and my sister away.
Wow.
And that was part of the plan. I'm going to ship the kids away one at a time, two at a time. They're going to live with their parents or my mom or whatever. And eventually, with no kids, it's easier for me to run.
Right.
That was her plan. So I didn't know that. But what I did know is that I felt neglected.
Wow.
I didn't know her story. I just knew at 4 years old, why are you trying to get rid of me?
Right.
And that came back up in my life as an adult. And I thought I was suffering because of the abuse. It wasn't the abuse, it was the neglect. So I was mad at my mama for a long time. I had to figure out, and I didn't know that what that really was. So I had to forget her story, right? That's another thing. I had to get her side of the story to understand why she did what she did and why she deserved grace and mercy.
That, you know what, that's awesome that you had to, and that's such a big encouragement to people. Again, doing the work, you know, you had to go back and get the story, and getting the story gave you a different perspective. It gave you a different perception of what happened. It changed it, and that allowed you to walk through that door of forgiveness, right? And that's an amazing, because some people don't do the work. They just find it easier to stay trapped in that thing, you know, and that's not the way to go. I know myself. I went through, there's two parts, you know. Forgiveness is definitely that outward that you extend towards man, which I agree with you 100%. But I encountered a scenario probably about a couple years ago, where I was sexually assaulted by someone that I I'm not even saying I thought I knew him. I somewhat knew him, an acquaintance, and yeah, he just did what he felt like he needed to do in the moment, which was taking something from, taking from me. And
Right.
for a long time, I carried a lot of guilt because I felt like there's never an excuse for rape, but I felt like I put myself in a position. And here's the crazy part. Ooh, I forgave him before I forgave myself, which was really, you would think like, why, in a situation, and I've had so many people weigh in on this, and not so many people, I take that back, the people that I've shared this with, and I didn't know why I didn't forgive myself. There were so many things that happened during, and why didn't I do this, or why didn't I do that, or I should have, or why did I even in the first place? And so it was a boulder that I carried around with me for more than a year, through counseling, through church, through everything. I drug this boulder with me, so much so, Cortez, to the point where you ever be going about with your life and there's something impeding in your life and you kind of forget about it for a moment. And it's almost like forgetting where you put your keys. Like, I was supposed to remember something. What was I supposed to remember? Oh, that thing. Let me get this boulder and put it back around my neck and keep dragging it. This was every day. And like I said, for more than a year. And it was as simple as one day being in church, which, those of you, I haven't really said it publicly, but I am looking for a church home. I did decide to step out from my church, which I adore my pastor. I love her. Because she has been an awesome woman of strength in my life. But I stepped out from the worship center. But while at the worship center, my pastor took us through this thing in church, about self-forgiveness. And she, just generally was speaking, that thing that happened to you, yada, yada, you forgive the other person, but have you forgiven yourself? And when I tell you, I'm sure she wasn't thinking of me in that moment, even though she did know the situation. It had been more than a year since it had as she had knew about it. And when she hit me with that, pastors always want you to talk to your neighbor, leave me alone. Nah. But she said, turn around, ask yourself, have you forgiven yourself? I did it. It didn't hit me. She said, turn around and ask the person behind you. It wasn't nobody behind me, so I couldn't turn around and ask somebody, but the person in front of me, she was like, have you forgiven yourself? And for some reason, it cut right through me. And it just broke. It shattered so many things. And man, it was a game changer because I hadn't, and I didn't even realize it. So when I did get to the point of just really squaring that thing off, had me at the altar, of course, lay. If y'all don't know me like you know me, I would lay out before the Lord. And in that moment, I forgave myself, and it was
good for you, Michelle.
I ain't finna do this, but
yes, you are.
It was
okay.
It was a moment of freedom, right? It was a moment of freedom for me.
One of my favorite all-time lyrics ever written. I don't even know who sings this song, but the lyric that said, "It's okay not to be okay."
Right.
We have gotten to a place where we hide our pain. We don't want to shed. It's okay not to be okay. That's actually part of the cleansing.
You're very true. Very true.
Of it, right now, I know you got mascara on and you're gonna look bad on camera and all that stuff. But
I'm trying to keep these lashes on if you don't mind.
Lashes don't fly all over the place, but
it's
a wonderful thing. To allow your spirit to cleanse. Man, I cry almost every day, Michelle. Almost every day.
I want to see you put lashes on in the conversation.
No. I got the lashes and the makeup to skew and all that stuff. But
yeah, and thank you. That's why I adore you and your sugar, because you guys, a whole nother story, what you guys mean to me. But back to self-forgiveness. In that moment, it broke off of me. And I am happy to say that I haven't lived in that. This event happened in 2018. And I haven't lived in that. Once I forgave myself, it was in probably the latter part of 2019, early 2020. And it was a daily thing because that thing would try to come back on me. But I'm happy to say I don't think about it every day. I drug it around every day, Cortez. And when I forgot, the enemy brought it back to my remembrance, like, oh, pick up that, you forgot your boulder.
Yeah.
And I kept picking it up. And it's amazing to be free. It really is. It's so I just want to encourage people that when you have done things that you feel like you shouldn't have, God has forgiven you, right? And you got to do the work. I had to go do the work to find out why I did what I did.
Right.
You know, why was I in the situation? Again, rape ain't never cool. Ever. But I felt like I put myself in harm's way. So I had to go back and look at some history. I had to go back and look at my life. Why was I where I was? And why was I mentally where I was? And it's okay to not be okay, but I had to realize it's not okay to let people hurt me. It's not okay to feel okay about people hurting me. Simply not.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And before we go on to I know you got lots of stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick and choose.
But I want to talk about the power in personal growth and self-development. Because we got to understand that when the Bible speaks of the renewing of my mind every day, that's a real thing. And what we think about is that, oh, I am only renewing my mind when I go and open up the Bible. I am only renewing my mind if I'm listening to some Les Brown. Do you guys realize that everything that you consume is personal growth and self-development?
It is.
Everything. The question is, what direction is it causing you to grow in?
Yeah.
So don't think that I'm only renewing my mind when I pick up scripture. No, when you pick up that romance novel, you renewing your mind too.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I listen to something motivational every day when I work out. And I heard Lisa Nichols, one of my favorite of all time. You know, I don't listen to a lot of her stuff, but I heard her say she went through a deep depression and her doctor wanted to put her on Prozac. And she was like, what are you doing? She said, you're clinically depressed. At the time, she didn't know what clinically depressed means. And she's like, no, help me understand what that means. Like I'm just really sad all the time. And he's like, yeah, that's kind of where it is. And she said, he said, I don't want to be on a Prozac because I understand what that is. That's psychiatric. That is mind altering. Let me deal with this on my own and I'll come back in 30 days. And if I haven't gotten better, I'll take all the Prozac you want me to take. Right. And she said she went home and she got in the mirror and she said these 3 things to herself every day. She said, number 1, I am. And you fill in the blank.
Wow.
Number 2, she said, I forgive me for. And you fill in the blank. Ooh. And number 3, she said, I'm committed to. And you fill in the blank.
Wow. She
said when she went back to the doctor 30 days later, completely transformed. The doctor said, I want whatever you taking.
Right. I have some of that.
Like, I
have some.
I ain't taking that. And she picked herself up with understanding the power of I am. I am. You fill in the blank.
Man, that's so
forgive me for. You fill in the blank.
Yeah.
I am committed to. You fill in the blank. But you declare and decree that over your life every single day. And last but not least, why you have to do this? Because sometimes it gets hard to forgive yourself. Sometimes it gets hard to overcome the shame because you don't value yourself.
Woo! Yeah. You know what?
We put time, energy, and effort into the things we value. But some of us, and especially our women, don't value themselves enough. And they put time, energy, and effort into everybody and everything around them but themselves.
Yeah. You know what? And just to piggyback on what you said, first of all, this show is just shifted and I'm okay with that. We ain't gonna worry about what's on this little paper. We ain't gonna worry about that. It's gonna work out. But I just want to piggyback on that. That's why it's so vitally important to love yourself, and loving yourself is just, it's so much more than just, you look in the mirror and you say the 3 things you just said, right? And I love that because I did have to say, Lord, I forgive me every day. It was a commitment. I had to commit to forgiving myself every day, you know, because again, that thing tried to come back on me.
Mhm.
And it tried to take me hostage. You know, I'll say this, before, if I gave myself for that year and some change, I kept running into this guy. And of course, like a lot of women, one day we just gonna do a show about sexual assault and talk about the
Mhm.
statistics, because the majority of women do not report it. I
Yeah.
didn't report it.
Yeah.
I didn't want my life drug out in the court. I didn't, you know,
Yeah.
and that joker need to thank God
Mhm.
that I was wrestling with some things mentally, or else he'd probably be up under
Yeah. Yeah.
whole nother thing. But in my way back, continuing to stay committed to forgiving myself, knowing that God has already forgiven me. God has released me. I was holding myself hostage.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and so it's so important that, you know, you look in the mirror and you tell yourself that you love me, that you love yourself, and you find those reasons to be in love with yourself. But again, only comes when you know who you are, and the only really true way to know who you are is know who God is. He made you. Before you was a twinkling in your mama's eye, he made you. The hairs on your head are numbered. He made you. So for me, that helped me on my way back. And then I'm gonna say this to the men: it's a thin line. We don't need your compliments, but we need that restoration. We need that building. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So if you have a woman in your life, your wife, your mother, your sister, it's important that if you love her with a genuine what they call it, unconditional love, that you tell her, you know what, you're beautiful. I
Mhm.
love you. You know what, you are worth it. You
Yeah.
know, it's not for anything that we've done ourselves, it's because of what God did for us. But we
Mhm.
need to hear those words to continue to build us. You know,
Yeah.
not just because you said it, but it helps the root. So we got to say it to ourselves. But men, when you care about us like you do,
Mhm.
you have to help build. And it really is the same way in reverse. If you know a man is damaged or broken, you got to get him to love himself, because if they're not loving themselves and they get those compliments, they're simply empty compliments. They're not building. They're
Right.
not life affirming. But if you're helping to build that person because they're building themselves, and it will be affirming. It will
Yeah.
mean something. It's not just empty words. So
I love
there
it.
it
I love
is.
it. I love it.
There it is.
Vanzia, I want you, because she lost her marriage, her suddenly lost her husband,
Wow.
and she's still battling with that. I want
Wow.
you to connect with Melissa Wilson. She's
Yes.
a certified life coach, and see if she can't help you
Yes.
through that
Please.
thing of feeling stuck. She said, I just feel
Yes.
stuck sometimes.
Wow. Wow.
And that's a real thing.
It is.
It's a real thing. And I think one of the things that helped me is helping somebody else get through their thing, help me get through my thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm feeling low, if I find somebody else who needs to pick me up and I can come out of my feeling lowness and help
Mm-hmm.
pick them up and drop an encouraging word on them. My girl, India Irie, said it best. And I don't want y'all ever to forget this,
Come
uh,
on.
because it makes so much sense after I let it sit in my spirit. She said, the words that come out your mouth, you're the first to hear.
There it is. You are the first.
It's like, wait, what? So
Mm-hmm.
everything you're saying to somebody else, you're saying to yourself.
Yep. There it is.
The
There it
words
is.
that come from your mouth, you're the first to hear. So if I'm feeling defeated and down and I go speak life into somebody else,
There it is.
I'm also speaking life into myself.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That's
And that helped me get through when I first, Michelle, came out publicly with my sexual molestation as a kid, and start talking about it openly. It was like I literally became a magnet for everybody who had ever been sexually molested,
yeah.
and they felt comfortable talking
Yeah.
to me. And it was in my helping them navigate those treacherous waters where you're thinking
Yeah.
about, hey man, what does this mean about me? What does this say about who I am? And all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being able to speak life into them helped
Oh.
me to not get over it, right? Because I heard a young lady, she broke my heart, Michelle. She's telling me about her sibling who had gone through some traumatic sexual assault. And her basic sentiment was, it happened to me, just get over it. I'm like, no, you don't get over it. You deal with it. Dealing with it comes in what you said, doing the work. Because you don't just get over trauma.
You do not
have to deal with trauma. You have to dig down into the depths of that sore to where the infection lives, no matter how hard it hurts. You have to start scraping that away. It's kind of like a burn victim, right? They literally have to get scrubbers and scrub the dead, burnt flesh off of these people in order for them to heal. It's painful. Then
it's gonna hurt.
Pour alcohol or ammonia on it to make sure it kills any potential infection. That's sometimes trauma has caused that level of potential infection in us. And if we are unwilling to dig down to the root of it and cut it from there, then sanitize it with some alcohol or something like that so that you can actually heal, it's only a matter of time before that infection starts taking over. And if you're not careful, it'll take over your whole body.
You know what? You said something so interesting. I love the way you talk, and I think I've slowly over the last year we've been doing the show. Next month, I've learned to speak Cortez, and the way that you just described that in regards to the burn, where you have to kind of peel off that damaged skin, then you got to clean it. You can't clean on top of the scab. You got to get up under that scab. It's going to hurt getting the scab off. It's going to hurt because the scab is adhered to you, and healing is taking place under it, but that burnt skin is dead. It's got to come off, and it's got to go. And then once you get the burnt skin off, you do have to heal, so whatever you put on it, just in medical terms, whatever agent you put on it to heal the skin after you get the burnt skin off, is going to allow, and I think I said that backwards, will allow it to heal and scab and get under there and just kind of do what it does. But as long as the dead skin is on top, healing won't take place. God can't heal it if you won't reveal it.
There you go. Rhyming again.
Coming in the house. Hey, that is. You can't heal it if you won't reveal it. So, that's just
we do have some good stuff here. And we do have time to kind of
we're gonna jump in because I didn't got
course and get back on right here. So an important fact about forgiveness. Let's start there.
Okay. All right. As soon as I find it, I got it. There it is. An important fact about forgiveness. All right. When we wrong someone, we seek his or her forgiveness in order for the relationship to be restored. It's important to remember that forgiveness is not granted because, I put this in here and I thought it's about to hit me again. Okay. Forgiveness is not granted because a person deserves to be forgiven. Let it marinate. I'll wait. Okay. Instead, it's an act of love, an act of mercy. What you say, you came on back. Act of love, mercy, and grace. The people in our lives that need to be forgiven, they don't deserve it. Who, you know what I'm saying? But you have to love enough to push past your emotion. Unforgiveness for real is an emotion. You know what I'm saying? And you have to push past it. And it's hard. Everybody's got these things in their life. I had a dad that didn't show me a lot of love. And the God knew what he was doing. And something I questioned why my mom passed first. And I was so close to her. And God is I believe he's using my father being the surviving parent. Sorry, Lord. I ain't never cared that much. I love him, but I ain't never been in love with my daddy. I ain't never really cared that much. My mama was the one who showed me love, and my dad was always critical, always. So what am I loving about that? From knee high all the way, what was I loving about that? But God is using this situation. You say, I'm gonna take the one you love because I knew you loved her. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go ahead and take her. I got her. I'm gonna leave you with this joker.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was easy to love her, but is it easy to love him?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be easy to care for him and nurture him and be there for him, even though he wasn't for you?
Yeah.
Can you emotionally tap in when he needs you, even though he didn't do that for you? Can you forgive, Shell? And that is something I will be honest and say that I have been dealing with daily, that I have to forgive. I have to forgive. I don't want to. There's a part of me that wants to stay stuck in my past, because especially the repercussions of what didn't happen then have fallen out in my life as an adult. But I can't live on that, and I can't let that be the excuse, because I know that greater is he who is in me than he who is in the world. So if I believe that all things work together for my good, if I believe that, why am I still holding on to the past if I believe God's word? So
I love that, because I think, and as Christians, we are human, just like everybody else. We fall short of the glory of God, just like everybody else. But when you think about some of the scriptures and the need to internalize them, right? When I'm going through a tough challenge, I'll say, I can do all things through Christ. You can do all things but forgive this person. Come on now. Wait a minute. You just said you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Christ ain't made you strong enough to forgive this person yet.
That's it. That's it. At the end of the day, you are not. What you gonna do? You gonna be obedient?
You can't do all means all. It would be different if the scripture said, I can do most things through Christ who strengthens me.
Or some things.
Or some things through Christ. No, it said I can do all. So if you believe that, all means you can forgive this person, right?
Yeah, real talk, though. That's so cool. I can do all things except forgive through Christ who strengthens me. There it is. Almost all things work together for my good. Almost. No, I just stepping back slightly, Cortez, where you said, your testimony, you use that, God used that, you helping other people to help you. Just talking about how I grew up with my dad, even talking about my rape situation, I discovered that there was a whole bloodline of things that have happened to the women in my family via molestation and rape, and it really is a generational curse. So much so that my mom, there was another incident that happened to me as a young adult with a male, and my mom basically told me get over it. She said this, and I love my mom, but it was where she was. My mom didn't deal with things. She swept them under a rug, and she kept it pushing. And she told me this situation. She's in this situation. She said, as a woman, we done all had to give it up at least one time in our life when we didn't want to. Much less talk about 2 times. I was in so much despair before I forgave myself. I wasn't suicidal, but I've never felt lower in my life. And me, who's normally a jovial, upbeat person, I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live either.
Right.
That's so weird. But when you deal with people that bloodline runs, where it's just what we deal with. No, it's not. It's not. One of my daughters was molested, and my mom told me, it's what we deal with, sweeping under the rug. And I said, no, it stops here. Not mine. And we went through counseling, and we prayed, and we talked, and we used the tips and the tools that were given to us. Everything ain't meant to be just left under a rug. Because what's going to happen is that lump going to get so big, you're going to start tripping over it.
Right.
And that's what happened. That's what happened.
It is so true that we never deal with trauma, right?
Yep.
In every area, in every respect, Michelle. Yep. And it's, sexual assault, abuse, molestation, all of that, right? And but not only that, I look at the fact that, and I say it all the time, and our babies are sick mentally. We are literally, our kids are growing up in a war zone. If we go and get kids from Baghdad or Botswana, and they're 13 years old, and they're handling guns, and they're best friend dies in combat, we'll say that kid is subject to have post-traumatic stress syndrome. Well, guess what? I remember being a junior in high school, and one of the first times I dealt with death as a young person, a guy we went to school with, his 9-year-old brother got killed, got shot in the face.
Wow. Jesus.
Right?
Goodness.
And we don't get help for that. Now, I'm way removed from the family. I was tight with his cousin, know him, know the family well, but I'm way removed. But that's still traumatizing to me. Now imagine that 9-year-old kid's best friend.
Yeah.
And we don't deal with that.
Nope.
We don't deal with any of that. And then we have the nerve to want to suspend the kid when he's acting out or not performing well in school after his best friend just got killed 2 months ago and everybody and everything is back to normal. We are normalizing sickness,
trauma
in every aspect of our lives. But with that being said, that's why the grace and the mercy is so important, because you said this is where my mom was.
Yep.
But I don't have to take on and own that and become my mindset and my way of thinking.
That's
Mom, that ain't normal. I get why you think that way. I understand how that mentality became ingrained in you, but ingrained as it is wrong.
Exactly. having the courage to stand up and say, no, Ma, because it was a family member that molested my daughter. Having the courage to stand up and say, she wanted me to put it under the rug. And it involved the police. And they went and got this person from what it was. And my mom wanted me to let it go. Just don't do this to the family. She didn't talk to me for a while. But in that moment, it was more important for me to get peace for my child than it was to be afraid of my mama. And I love my mama like no other, but I love my baby. And I wanted her to have a future that wasn't tainted with that, you know?
And and how important is it for your daughter to know that mom is going to bat for me? See, I didn't know that I was in Mississippi when it really came out, and I started telling, I said, man, this happened to me. I got to say it. And it was my uncle, my mom's brother, right? I had no idea that because it was, I mean, we're talking, I was 22, I believe, when I first said anything, and it happened when I was between the ages of 5 and 7, right? So the statute of limitation had passed, but I can't tell you how it restored and brought closure to all of my feelings of neglect to know that she was going to have her own brother sent to jail.
Okay.
About her baby.
Yeah. Like, so hey, I love you for
15, 16 years, I'm feeling the pain of neglect. And I can't say it wiped it all away, but when I found out that not only was she going to send him to jail, she was going to war with the whole court system. Damn, a statute of limitation. Somebody got to pay for this. Oh, you ain't going to make him pay? Well, you got to pay for not making him pay. So who's above you? Let me talk to your supervisor, your manager. Who's the court judge above? To know that you have a parent gonna fight for you, even if fighting for you means I might have to fight a family member who has wronged you. That's huge. And I'm glad that you didn't allow your mom to take that away from you and your baby.
Yeah, it was, that's why I will forever believe in counseling. It was my first experience because my mom was like, you don't let the white folks in your business. Don't tell it all business. And I let them in. And yeah, it brought about some repercussions. But then when I discovered that the person that did this to my daughter, who was maybe about 5 or 6 years older than my daughter, had been molested too. And their parent, my sister, had been molested too. And so on and so on. it was a curse. And then it took me all the way back to, Mama, is this why you hide stuff? Because you was molested too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was told to you in the 40s, in the 50s. I won't say that, just sweep it under a rug. You know, and so it's gotta break. I'm glad to say the restoration came, you know, that forgiveness came, and it was big because that person had to forgive themselves, like just like me. And they carried guilt and shame for a long time. And my daughter even went to him, was like, hey, I forgive you.
Yeah.
And then that person still wrestled, you know, and so I mean it comes and it goes. You might even be asking yourself, you know, how do you get on the road to forgiveness, right? So we'll hit these few tips real quick that kind of usher you on the road. Again, I think that if you're wrestling with, I said that right, wrestling. If you're wrestling with how to forgive someone else or even how to forgive yourself, I recommend find you a good Bible believing, Bible teaching church is always the first, but then get you some counseling. You know, look, inbox me. I have an awesome, amazing counselor. She's amazing. And I know that could nobody but God send her to me because she was amazing. So just if you need help and you don't know where to start beyond here, please inbox myself, inbox Cortez. Let us help you on your journey, on your way back to freedom, because you don't have to live like this. That's going to resonate to somebody. However you living right now, it ain't got to be that way. Something caused, what they call a cause and effect, caused you to be right where you are right now. And if you don't like where you are, you can get out. You can get free. There's a way out, you know, but you got to do the work. You got to be willing to do the work. Can't nobody do it for you.
Truly, Michelle, they not living.
You're not. You're existing. And that ain't what God had for us. If you run around like, oh, why God did this to me and why, it's available, but you got to do the work. You can't just exist through this life. You don't have to. You can have it more abundantly. I'm trying to get out. I heard somebody say this once, and I'm going to get these tips out. I heard somebody say this once. I don't want more than what I'm supposed to have, but I want every single thing that God has for me.
That's right.
Everything he had. I'm not greedy. I don't want more. I just want everything God said I'm supposed to have. I want it.
You already got my name. I want it.
There it is. Got my name on it. There it is. So here we go. Some steps to forgiveness. Peace your way into the present. You know, whether you realize it or not, if you hold on to resentment, you're living in the past. You know, that's where all the hurt is unfolded. It comes from our past. So if you're living in the past, have the courage to begin to release it piece by piece. Piece by piece. Ha is a double entendre thing. Piece by piece.
There you go.
There it is. There it is. You see what I did?
Okay. Now you throw the double entendre at the end of the show. Yeah,
right. Do you see what I did there? Okay. Next one, flip the focus from others to yourself. Now, I know that might sound a little strange, but what you have to do is, instead of worrying about, you know what he did? You know what they did to me? Focus on what you could be doing. How are you controlling your feelings? How are you controlling your reaction to what was done? What steps are you taking to be better from it? Because if you're just simply dwelling on what was done, you're not going to get there. You won't. And sometimes we replay a situation over and over again in our minds. It's not healthy. If you find yourself doing that, you got to get out of that cycle because it will keep you trapped. Take responsibility for your feelings. You know, changing the way that you perceive others, it has the power to kind of set you free. It can get you back on the track to wellness, right? And again, like with you had to go find out what happened in the past with your mom. That changed your perception, shifted the game for you. It shifted the game. So a lot of times we have to have the courage to face things so that we can gain control, and it's taking responsibility. You know, not just finding it easy to live in the hurt, right? Own your part. If you did something as a part of whatever that led to the unforgiveness, you know, own your part. Well, maybe if I hadn't done this, or maybe I could have did this better or different. You know, if there's a part, sometimes there's no part to own. You know, the only part you own is the forgiveness part. But if there is a part to own it and keep it pushing. Okay. It's a couple more. Stop looking to feel slighted. Stop playing the victim. People, don't be the victim. Quit looking for, you know what happened, and then what they did, and then no, it happened. Not get over it, but you have to deal with it. So that dealing with it part, we back to doing the work. If you don't get nothing out this whole show, do the work. It's part of that. You know, we talked about steps doing the work. Apply a loving lens. Find a way to love yourself again. I'm not saying find a way to love the other person. You should, in general, you should love, right? But finding your way to that is going to be instrumental. It's going to be key. Finding your way back to love. And actually, that was my last one. Ta-da!
All right. Normally we do last words, guys, but we got a hard stop because the St. Louis Hustle Podcast is syndicated on the Empowerment Network. So we want to be respectful to the next show that's about to come on that network. And we're going to jump out of here, people. So keep the conversation going in the comments. We're going to jump in and respond to a lot of these comments. Some great comments today. So we appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in. Until we talk to you next time, we want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it.
That's so hard.
More importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up.